For years, I barely noticed that little orange box of baking soda in my kitchen. I used it to bake, freshen the fridge, maybe scrub a pan, but that was it. Then, one afternoon, an elderly neighbor mentioned he drank baking soda water regularly for heartburn and a few other things. He swore it made him feel better. That simple comment stuck with me. I went home curious and started researching. What I discovered shocked me. Could this basic household powder hold real healing power, especially for seniors like us? Today, I'll show you 7 surprising ways baking soda water might improve your health. So grab a warm glass and settle in. You may never look at this humble remedy the same way again. Relieve heartburn and acid reflux. I'll never forget the first time I saw someone use baking soda for heartburn. It was my uncle, leaning back in his chair after a big holiday dinner, with that familiar grimace that so many of us know too well. Instead of reaching for a pink bottle or chalky tablet, he stirred a spoonful of white powder into a glass of warm water. "Trust me," he said, 5 minutes. And he was right. Heartburn is something most of us have experienced, especially those of us over 60. After a hearty meal or lying down too soon after dinner, that burning in the chest starts creeping upward, irritating the throat, tightening the breath. For seniors, it can be nightly torture. But what I didn't realize was just how effectively baking soda or sodium bicarbonate could address this. Not in a theoretical way, but chemically and quickly. When you drink baking soda dissolved in water, it interacts directly with the hydrochloric acid in your stomach, the culprit behind the burn. The two react to form salt, water, and carbon dioxide. That's it. The acid is neutralized. That pressure behind your breastbone, it dissipates. That sour taste in your mouth, gone in minutes. Now, I don't mean to say this is a miracle fix or that it should replace a doctor's advice. But the idea of finding fast, reliable relief from a teaspoon and a glass of water felt empowering. Especially for seniors already taking a handful of prescriptions each day, the chance to skip one more pill and instead turn to something familiar and natural. Well, that just felt like reclaiming a little piece of control over my body. Still, it's important to remember that baking soda contains sodium. If you're someone who deals with high blood pressure, heart disease, or kidney issues, daily use may not be for you. But for occasional heartburn, the kind that sneaks up on you after lasagna night, it's a gentle way to get back to comfort naturally. Support kidney function. Now, let's talk about something we don't feel until it's gone: our kidneys. These two bean-shaped organs don't complain much. They just do their job, quietly filtering our blood, balancing fluids, removing waste. That is, until they start to struggle. And for many seniors, especially those with high blood pressure or diabetes, kidney function becomes something we can't take for granted. What surprised me most was that baking soda doesn't just help with digestion. It actually plays a role in helping kidneys too, especially for those in the early stages of chronic kidney disease, or CKD. I read about a study where patients with mild to moderate CKD were given small doses of sodium bicarbonate over several months. The results were eye-opening. The decline in their kidney function slowed. In many cases, they delayed or even avoided dialysis. The reason lies in something called metabolic acidosis, a condition where the body becomes slightly too acidic because the kidneys can't remove enough acid from the bloodstream. When that happens, the acidity actually speeds up kidney damage. But baking soda, when taken in the right amounts under medical guidance, acts as a buffer. It neutralizes that excess acid. Not a cure, but a defense. And again, it's not about turning your body alkaline overnight. It's about balance. And when we can help our kidneys maintain that balance without adding another prescription to the pile, it feels like we're finally working with our bodies, not against them. Of course, anyone with advanced kidney disease, heart issues, or fluid retention needs to be cautious. But for those just beginning to show signs of kidney strain, or who want to be proactive, a half teaspoon of baking soda in water, 2 or 3 times a week, might offer gentle support where it's needed most. Ease urinary tract discomfort. I've spoken to enough seniors to know there are few things more disruptive than a urinary tract infection, or UTI. The burning, the urgency, that constant feeling that you need to go. It's exhausting, not to mention emotionally draining. It doesn't just affect the body, it interrupts your sleep, your confidence, your peace. So, how does baking soda play into this? Turns out, when dissolved in water and consumed, baking soda raises the pH of your urine, and that's significant because the bacteria most commonly responsible for UTIs, like E. coli, love acidic environments. They thrive in them. But when the urine becomes more alkaline, it becomes harder for those bacteria to multiply. It's not a cure, but it can help calm the internal environment just enough to soothe that burning and reduce inflammation. For seniors who suffer from recurrent UTIs, this isn't just a nice-to-know remedy. It's a way to potentially reduce the number of flare-ups and bring some relief between antibiotic courses. It's a way to feel a bit more in control when the doctor's appointment is still days away. I read one small study where women with recurring UTIs added baking soda to their care routine. Many reported less urgency, less burning, and fewer infections overall. That's not folklore, that's lived experience backed by emerging science. And it made me realize that sometimes relief doesn't come from something new and high-tech. It comes from what's already in our kitchen. Help with gout flares. Now let's talk about something truly painful, gout. If you've never had a gout flare, count yourself lucky. But if you have, you know the agony. Waking up with a toe that feels like it's on fire, a knee that can't be touched without pain. This is no minor discomfort. And for seniors, it can be especially debilitating. The root cause? Uric acid. When it builds up in the bloodstream, it can crystallize in the joints, causing those sharp, unbearable pains. But here's where baking soda might lend a hand. When you drink a small amount of baking soda water, it can shift your body slightly toward a more alkaline state. In that environment, uric acid becomes more soluble. It dissolves better, gets flushed out more easily, which means fewer crystals, which means less pain. I don't claim that this replaces medication, it doesn't, but I do believe it can be part of a supportive routine, a way to reduce the frequency and intensity of attacks. And honestly, knowing that I can do something, anything, when the first twinge of a flare appears, gives me a sense of agency that no pill bottle ever has. I'll be honest, when I had my first real gout flare, I didn't even know what it was. I thought I'd twisted something in my sleep or maybe banged my foot without realizing it. But then the pain kept growing. Hot, pulsing, relentless. That's when I knew it wasn't just a bruise. The doctor confirmed it right away, gout. And he explained that while diet plays a role, the bigger culprit is the uric acid building up in the bloodstream. It's your body's own waste turned against you. That felt strangely unfair. I remember the frustration most of all. I was eating better. I was drinking water. But the flare still came. It made me feel betrayed by my own progress. That's why the idea of having something, anything, that might help reduce uric acid naturally felt like hope. When I started using baking soda water, I wasn't expecting miracles. I just wanted some relief. But over time, I noticed the flares became less intense. And more importantly, they became less frequent. I still take my medications as prescribed. I still watch what I eat. But adding baking soda to my routine felt like adding another layer of support, like giving my body a little backup. I've also learned to watch for the early signs, subtle stiffness, a mild ache, and that's when I reach for the baking soda. Catching it early seems to make a difference. Some people wait until the pain is unbearable before doing anything. But I've learned that prevention is just as important as treatment, sometimes even more so. There's something powerful about feeling like you're doing something proactive, not just enduring, not just surviving the flare, but actually giving your body a chance to push back. It's easy to feel helpless when your joints are screaming. But when I sip that glass of warm water with baking soda, it's like I'm taking back a little control. One small choice, made quietly in my kitchen, but it ripples outward. Over time, it's become part of my daily awareness. I tune in more. I notice how my joints feel after certain meals, certain drinks. I've even started keeping a little health journal, nothing fancy, just a place to track what I eat and how my body responds. Baking soda isn't a cure, but it's been a key player in helping me manage gout without feeling completely dependent on pills. The best part is how gentle it is. No side effects, no prescription necessary, just something I can reach for when my body whispers a warning. And for something so inexpensive, so widely available, it still amazes me how powerful its impact has been on my quality of life. Sometimes I wonder how many other people are quietly suffering, thinking their only options are medications, or simply toughing it out. That's why I talk about this now. Not because I think it works for everyone, but because it worked for me. And if it helps someone else find even a little relief, it's worth sharing. We often underestimate the power of small habits. But managing something like gout isn't just about what we stop doing. It's about what we start doing. And for me, baking soda was one of those starts. Soothe mouth sores and bad breath. Let's shift to something a little less intense, but just as frustrating: mouth sores and bad breath. It's not glamorous, but it matters. I've seen how a small canker sore can make eating miserable, or how dry mouth from medications can lead to bad breath that erodes your confidence. So once again, I turn to that little orange box. When you mix baking soda into warm water and swish it around your mouth, it does two things. First, it neutralizes acids. This is key because acid in the mouth promotes bacterial growth. Second, it soothes inflamed tissue. It's especially helpful for seniors who wear dentures, have dry mouth, or take medications that alter their saliva production. The rinse doesn't burn like alcohol-based mouthwashes. It's gentle, it's kind, and it works. Some days I use it once, some days 3 times. But each time, I'm reminded that self-care doesn't have to be fancy. It can start with a glass of water and a pinch of powder. I never used to think much about oral health beyond brushing and flossing. It was just routine, something I did out of habit. But as I've gotten older, I've started noticing the small things. The sting of a sore on the inside of my cheek. The way food tastes different when my mouth feels dry. The quiet discomfort that can make even talking feel like a chore. That's when I realized that our mouths are more sensitive than we give them credit for, and more connected to our overall well-being than most people know. When something feels off in your mouth, it affects how you eat, how you speak, even how you sleep. It's hard to enjoy a meal or engage in conversation when you're wincing every time your tongue moves. For me, baking soda water became more than a rinse. It became a small moment of restoration. I'd swish it gently, almost meditatively, and feel the calm settle in almost instantly. It didn't sting. It didn't foam aggressively. It just did its job, quietly and kindly. I even started noticing fewer flare-ups. The little cuts from crunchy toast or overly spicy meals healed faster. The soreness from accidentally biting my cheek didn't linger like it used to. It felt like my mouth had a fighting chance again. And then there's the breath issue, something people rarely talk about, but almost everyone worries about. Especially as we age and saliva production drops, bad breath becomes more than a passing concern. It can become a daily source of self-consciousness. But baking soda water helps neutralize those odor-causing compounds before they become noticeable. It doesn't just cover the smell, it gets to the source. I've tried store-bought mouthwashes. Most of them left my mouth feeling dry or even more irritated. The alcohol in them was too harsh, especially on days when my mouth was already sensitive. Baking soda, by contrast, felt almost nourishing, like it was working with my body, not attacking it. My dentist even mentioned during a routine checkup that my gums looked less inflamed. He asked what I was doing differently. I told him I'd started rinsing with baking soda water a few times a week. He nodded and said, "Keep that up, it's helping." That moment stuck with me. Because so often, we don't think the little things we do at home matter. But they do. Especially when we do them consistently. And it's not just about the health of our teeth and gums. Oral health is deeply linked to heart health, brain health, even blood sugar regulation. It's one of those areas where a small investment can ripple out into bigger returns. I've since shared the trick with friends, especially those who wear dentures or take medications that dry out the mouth. One friend called me a few weeks later and said, "I actually enjoyed eating dinner again." That made me smile. Sometimes we underestimate how much joy a pain-free meal or a fresh mouth can bring. It's not just comfort, it's quality of life. Even emotionally, it makes a difference. There's something empowering about taking action when discomfort creeps in. Swishing with baking soda water isn't dramatic, but it's a way of saying, "I care about myself today." And the simplicity is what I love most. No prescription, no fancy bottle, no complicated instructions. Just warm water, a dash of powder, and a few quiet minutes. I usually do it in the evening as part of my wind-down routine. After brushing my teeth, I rinse with the solution, then sit with a cup of tea. It's a small act of care that ends the day on a gentle note. For anyone dealing with dry mouth, gum tenderness, or recurring sores, I can't recommend it enough. It's not a cure-all, but it's helped me feel more like myself again. And maybe that's the real gift here. Not just relief, but restoration. A return to ease. A return to comfort. In a world that's constantly trying to sell us complicated fixes, there's something deeply refreshing about a remedy this simple. And for seniors like me, that simplicity isn't just practical, it's empowering. Reduce post-exercise soreness. Let's talk about movement, because staying active in our senior years is everything. It keeps the heart strong, the joints flexible, and the mind clear. But movement comes with a price: soreness. Sometimes it's a good sore, like after gardening or a brisk walk. Other times, it lingers and makes you wonder if the effort was worth it. That's where baking soda surprised me again. After exercise, your muscles build up lactic acid, and that's what causes that deep, achy soreness. Drinking baking soda water afterward can help buffer that acid. Not entirely eliminate it, but reduce it, enough to make recovery faster, easier. I've started drinking a small glass after yard work or long walks, and I notice the difference the next day. I'm not as stiff. I don't dread bending over. It's a small adjustment, but one that's made my movement feel more rewarding and less punishing. At first, I didn't believe it could make such a difference. I thought maybe it was just the placebo effect, or maybe I was imagining things. But the pattern repeated itself again and again, and now I'm convinced there's something almost poetic about helping your body recover with something so simple. Not a synthetic supplement, not a fancy sports drink, just warm water and a pinch of baking soda. As someone who's been through physical therapy after a minor fall, I've felt firsthand how even gentle soreness can mess with your confidence. It makes you second-guess your movements, tiptoe through your day. So, when something comes along that eases that hesitation, even just a little, it restores more than muscle comfort. It restores momentum. The interesting part is how baking soda doesn't just mask the soreness. It seems to support the recovery process at a deeper level. It works with the body's chemistry, not against it. Muscle soreness is often caused by microtears and acid buildup. That's a normal part of growth. But the trick is helping the body clear those acids efficiently so we can keep moving. Some days, I even drink it preemptively. If I know I'll be working in the garden all afternoon or going on a longer walk with friends, it feels like a head start on recovery. I remember one afternoon after cleaning out the garage, sweeping, lifting, sorting boxes. Normally, I'd pay for it the next day with stiff shoulders and sore thighs. But this time, with baking soda water and a little stretching, I woke up feeling surprisingly good. It made me realize how often we give up activities we love because of the after effects, not the effort itself. What if we didn't have to make that trade-off? I've talked to a few friends about this, and some have started their own routines. One friend swears by it after Tai Chi classes. Another drinks it after her weekly swim. And we're not alone. Some athletes, yes, even elite ones, use baking soda as a buffer during training. If it works for them, why not for us? The science backs it up too. Sodium bicarbonate helps regulate acid-base balance in the body, which is especially useful after prolonged or intense physical exertion. I'll admit, I don't push myself like I used to in my 20s, but I do want to stay mobile, independent, and vibrant. I want to be able to enjoy life without being slowed down by pain. When we're sore, we tend to move less, and when we move less, everything else suffers. It's a domino effect. That's why this small shift matters more than it seems. Sometimes it's not even about pain, it's about stiffness. That subtle tightness in the hips or knees that makes sitting or standing a little more difficult. Baking soda doesn't fix it all, but it helps. It's become part of my self-care ritual. A warm shower, a gentle stretch, and a glass of baking soda water. It tells my body, you did well today. Now let's help you heal. There's something deeply comforting in that. Not rushing recovery, not forcing it, just supporting it quietly and patiently. I also found that when I feel less sore, I'm more willing to keep up with my walking routine. More likely to go outside, breathe fresh air, and keep my heart strong. The ripple effect is real. When I move more, I sleep better. When I sleep better, I eat better. When I eat better, my whole mood lifts. And it all starts with something as small and simple as a teaspoon of baking soda. I've come to appreciate that recovery isn't just physical, it's emotional too. Feeling good in your body makes you feel more connected to yourself, more confident, more free, and freedom, especially as we get older, is precious. The freedom to move without fear, without hesitation, without waking up dreading the day ahead. I even keep a little jar of baking soda in my gym bag now. Not because I'm lifting weights or training for anything big, but because I believe in listening to my body and helping it bounce back. When I think back to my younger years, I remember brushing off soreness as just part of life. But now I see it as feedback, a message. And I've learned to respond with kindness. Sometimes recovery is as much about what we remove from the body, like excess acid, as it is about what we add. That's where baking soda comes in. And because it's gentle, affordable, and widely available, it's something I can use without worry. No special orders, no prescription refills, just what I need, when I need it. There's power in that kind of simplicity. It turns recovery into a mindful act instead of a passive one. I find myself looking forward to it in a strange way. Not the soreness, of course, but the ritual. The way it invites me to pause, reflect, and care for myself intentionally. And perhaps most important of all, it's taught me that small interventions, done consistently, can lead to big changes in how we feel. Not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly, steadily, and sustainably. And for me, that's what healthy aging is all about. Support balanced body pH. This last one took me a while to understand, but the more I dug, the more it made sense. Our bodies are designed to maintain a very specific internal balance, a tight range of pH in our blood, muscles, and organs. But modern diets and medications can push us towards slight acidity. That acidity doesn't just affect our stomachs. It can cause fatigue, inflammation, even bone and muscle issues over time. Baking soda, when taken occasionally and appropriately, helps restore that balance. It's not about becoming alkaline. That's a myth. It's about reducing the excess acid that may be wearing our systems down. I don't drink it every day, but 2 or 3 times a week? Absolutely. And since doing so, I feel clearer, more energized, less foggy. It's a gentle nudge toward balance, And that, to me, is the very definition of aging well. Sometimes I wonder how many of our chronic discomforts, those little daily annoyances we shrug off as just getting older, are actually signals that our internal chemistry is slightly off. It's not always disease. Sometimes it's imbalance. When I began to really pay attention to what I ate, how I moved, and how I hydrated, I noticed patterns. After certain meals, I'd feel heavy, foggy, even slightly irritable. After drinking baking soda water on those days, I felt an almost immediate shift. Not a burst of energy, but a gentle lightness. There's this fascinating connection between pH and cellular health. When the body leans too acidic, it creates an environment where inflammation thrives. That's not just my opinion. It's something science is starting to back up more and more. I read a paper once that described chronic low-grade acidosis as a silent stressor on the body. Not enough to make you sick overnight, but enough to slowly wear you down over time. I couldn't stop thinking about that phrase, silent stressor, because that's exactly how it felt. The more I learned, the more I realized that our bones, our muscles, even our immune systems can be affected by acid buildup. The body will actually pull calcium from bones to neutralize acid if it has to. It's like an internal emergency response system. That alone made me rethink everything. Especially at my age, where bone density and joint health are already on my radar, I don't want to give my body any more reason to deplete itself. Some days, I think about how my grandparents lived. Their diets were simpler. Fewer processed foods, more vegetables, more whole grains. I doubt they ever thought about their pH levels, yet they lived with more balance just by default. But now we're in a different world. Everything is fast, salty, sugary. Medications come with side effects that can compound on each other. And so we have to be more intentional, more curious. We have to listen a little harder to what our bodies are trying to say. It's not about going to extremes or eliminating everything you enjoy. I still love a good slice of pizza or a warm pastry with my tea, but it's about balance and having tools on hand to help restore that balance when we go off track. Baking soda water, for me, has become that tool. Not every day, not obsessively, but when I need a reset. I used to think wellness had to be complicated, expensive supplements, trendy cleanses, endless pills. But sometimes, wellness is about returning to basics, to chemistry, nature, and gentle support. One of the most surprising things I learned was how the body naturally regulates its blood pH so precisely. It's almost miraculous. But that regulation has limits, especially as we age. The kidneys and lungs shoulder most of the burden, and if they're overworked, the system strains. That's where baking soda plays its quiet role. It doesn't override those systems. It supports them, just enough to take the edge off the acid, and in turn, reduce that underlying tension inside. I've noticed that when I keep my internal pH balanced, everything else seems to function better. My digestion, my sleep, my focus. It's like tuning a piano. Just a little adjustment makes the whole instrument sing better. So here I am, sitting at my kitchen table, sipping a glass of baking soda water. I'm not looking for miracles. I'm not chasing fads. I'm listening to my body, and I'm giving it something simple, natural, and kind. From heartburn to kidney support, from mouth sores to muscle aches. This little white powder has done more for me than I ever expected. Not because it's flashy or expensive, but because it works quietly and steadily. And in a world full of noise, that's exactly what I need. I won't say it's for everyone. You should absolutely talk to your doctor, especially if you have health conditions. But I will say this, if there's something small you can do, something affordable and accessible that helps you feel better in your own body, why not try it? If this video gave you even one idea worth exploring, consider sharing it with a friend. Let them know there's more sitting in their cupboard than they might think. And if you've ever tried baking soda water yourself, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. How did it make you feel? Did it help? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss more health wisdom made just for you. We're on this journey together, and every small step counts. Thank you for watching.